You're listening to Terry Bossons on Six Towns Radio.
With a very special Bossons about today, I'm bringing you Nickelback. Formed in Canada in the mid-90s, Chad Kroeger and Nickelback have had over 50 million album sales, and they've got a brand new one out now called Here and Now, and we're going to be talking about that. First of all, let's discuss the writing. So, welcome to the show, guys. What is the process that goes into writing a Nickelback album?
I think there has to be some kind of skeleton there. There's got to be some sort of structure that we can move together on. If the four of us try and get in a room and just jam, schizophrenia takes over, and all of our influences just start taking us in different places. So there has to be something sitting there. You know, when there's some kind of structure there, then we just move from there and we start working on the ideas. Lyrics are usually up on a big screen, so we can all sit and stare at them, and contribute if we can help. And it's a jigsaw puzzle. But you'll know when it's good, and you'll know when it's great.
I suppose writing an album for you guys must be really hard because you've got a lot to live up to, because your back catalogue is amazing.
We've really kind of set the bar pretty high for ourselves, and it's a pain in the ass. Truth be told, it's really hard because now everything's just got to be. I mean, we're putting probably as much time as a month on each song, so it gets pretty intense. Some come a little quicker. Obviously, it didn't take us 11 months on this one. But there were some, there were tunes that we worked on for 5 weeks on this one, and then others, a little less. Some songs come really quickly, and it's always funny. The song that just sounds effortless, the song that just sounds like, it's like, oh, this sounds like you guys wrote it in 5 minutes. Those are the 6-weekers.
Where was it all recorded?
This time around, we recorded it at the house, at my house. I've got the studio there. It's called Mountain View Studios. So when it was time to record the new album, Here and Now, we thought we'd just do it again at the house. I mean, I have to be there probably the most, just due to vocal takes and a lot of guitar takes and stuff. And so I try to keep my commute as short as possible. My commute's probably 60 steps.
That is close. Who came up with the album title, Here and Now?
I didn't even know who came up with it. We were all throwing names into the hat. What are we going to do? Where are we going to come up with a, album title? Then somebody said Here and Now, and I was like, for me, what I was thinking, I was like, that's perfect. That's a snapshot in time of where we are, what we're writing about, and this is us right now. Here and Now.
And it's one of those titles that hasn't been used, which is hard to find now because everything's been used.
Yeah, it's true.
If you Google it, and one band used it a long time ago, and they weren't really anyone that anyone knew, so
we were okay with it.
We were okay.
I think Delamitri had an album called Here and Now, and it was also a step song here in the UK, but you probably never heard of them. How did you fill in your time in the studio when you weren't recording? What did you do to keep yourselves entertained?
We got a studio cat, and suddenly everyone's demeanor was just...
It was really good. It was really good for the process to have an animal around. Seriously. No, I'm kidding, yeah.
He just made himself right at home. We called him Bruce. Bruce the cat. And he was just the coolest thing. And Bruce just makes himself comfortable, and evidently high noise levels.
Crushing, punishing levels of sound, and he would just be asleep on top of the speaker.
Just
like
no problem.
He was built for the studio, that cat.
Totally.
Perfect studio cat.
Great cat for the studio.
Yeah. Wow. Bruce is going to be living in LA in January.
It's the luckiest cat ever. Lost in a trailer park, shows up at a rock star's house, and then goes to Hollywood.
It's like Daniel's story. It's awesome.
It's kind of like, yeah.
Just like my life.
What do you do when you've got a finished song?
The best thing we can do is put it away for a week or so and come back and listen to it freshly. Because when you get so far inside a song, you can't listen objectively to it anymore, and you have to remove yourself from it and come back. And that's what I found was the clearest.
I show it to my wife. She's a pretty good gauge, for me anyway, of kind of where it sits. And and how...
That's just shameless ass kissing, Pete. She's not going to see this.
No,
Not only that,
I'm telling you,
if
he does
Pete,
the same-
if Pete
he does the
doesn't
same
show
thing.
it to his wife, there's usually a beating.
Oh.
involved, so.
Tears.
Do you have to tell everybody about that?
Do you have a favourite song on the album?
I think when it comes to the record and, trying to pick favorites, everything moves. Everything changes. There are songs that you're like, oh, this is going to be buried. This is going to be some far track, way at the back of the album. You get closer and closer to finishing it. All of a sudden, there's new love affairs that go on as things get their new wrapping paper and they approach completion. You start going, oh, this is my new favorite. This is my new favorite tune that I can't get out of my head. And then you'll move away from that one and you'll start working on another tune, and then you're like, oh, this could be good, this could be really special. And you just, that sort of ebb and flow goes throughout the entire process of making the record.
Your favorite songs easily can change when they come from the studio to a live show. Because we've done that before, and vice versa. We used to play some songs live earlier in our career and then go and record them. And it can work both ways, where you've got a favorite in the studio, you play it live and you're like, something is just not connecting, or I don't know what it is. And even a song that's kind of like, you may not have thought was the strongest song going into the studio, and then you played live and all of a sudden it just pops on tape. And you go, wow, it's fantastic. We had it happen where one of them was a single early in our career. We thought it was an average song, and everybody that heard it when it was recorded was like, wow, that's a great single.
So, how do you think over the years Nickelback have grown as a band?
The change in the albums sonically has definitely gotten better from the simple beginnings of recording a whole album in a day and a half. There's definitely a bit of compromise involved in that. I think it's the songwriting that's progressed the most. I mean, we've had somebody who can get fantastic source sounds and just make a really great sounding album. And I think it's definitely gotten better for sure.
We try different things every time. Photograph, when that one came along, it didn't sound like anything we'd done before. We hadn't really done a nostalgic song before. When Rockstar came along, it was kind of this tongue-in-cheek, almost like a novelty tune that just had all this, there was a lot of humor going on in it. And also, I don't think a lot of people even knew I was taking stabs at people in the industry. And then when Far Away came along, we had never done a full-blown ballad, just simply saying in the chorus, I love you, and I've loved you all along, that kind of thing. And so we keep trying new things, when we did the song for Dimebag, Side of a Bullet, we'd never recorded anything that heavy before. And our fans, I don't think they ever hear anything that we do and go, whoa, that's, what were they thinking? That's unacceptable. I don't think I can take that as a fan. We just kind of write everything, we write all over the map. We like heavy stuff. We like more melodic things. We like fast, slow, wherever it might be. And it's nice that we're, accepted for those.
And it obviously has, but how has your live set changed?
When you've got screens that are moving on tracks that come over top of the crowd, they come forward and then they turn and then come right down, and so the crowd's looking up, and the people on the floor are now part of the show. When you've got a drum kit that's flipping, over at the end of the Eagle ramp, and then we go out and play down there for a while, and you've got the moving drum kit that comes forward, lifts up, and then starts turning and moving in circles for a drum solo. When you've got all these things going on, and then like this massive pyro show, it's like, okay, this is great, but now how do we take this to the next level, right? Without, strapping on harnesses and like literally trying to fly around the arena, which could happen.
Which we might do.
Wouldn't want to give that one away.
So that gets tough. But now there's a lot of other things that you can do. The light shows with the lasers and the pyro and moving stage parts, and anything you can think of, they can literally do.
Oh yeah, but the actual moving about of this equipment and live set must be a total nightmare.
Trying to take your stage that you have dreamed up, the big show, and moving that around the world is
Very expensive.
It's expensive, and it's potentially a battle just trying to get these proprietary parts that you've made, whether it's the spinning drum kit.
I mean, when you look at it, when the band can just walk off stage, get on an airplane, and go to another country, the stage can't, and especially when you're dealing with oceans, you've got to stick these things in sea containers, and I mean, it's just this huge undertaking. I mean, sometimes we've got to send an A stage and a B stage to two different countries at the same time, but sometimes it's just not physically possible.
You've been known as a charitable band over the years. Tell us about your current work in that field.
We started up a new organization, the All the Right Reasons Foundation, that we've been raising money for charity the last few years, and we thought it just was the logical thing to do. Why not, if we throw it in our own foundation, raise money for our foundation, then we can divvy it out from there to the causes that we each feel the funds should be diverted to. So we just thought that was a natural step.
When it comes to our charitable donations, we want to be very hands-on. We want to control it. We want to see that every single dollar goes to where we want that money to go. And Ryan and his wife Trina, they are amazing. I mean, they go over to Africa and Cameroon and Sudan, and they drill wells and build schools and set up water purification systems, and that's when you feel really good that you're maximizing your charitable donations.
Right, let's get back to hearing now, the new album, and you've got a new single, When We Stand Together. And what a great video that goes along with it. Tell us a little bit about the making of the video.
The When We Stand Together video, we just wanted to have a very kind of positive surrounding. And the outdoors just seemed to be logical. And everything kind of came together. He was like, I'm thinking about like a kind of a golden field and just something to evoke kind of positive feelings. And we were all like, yeah, absolutely, this is the way to go. And to marry it with images that really would evoke an emotion of some sort, something, whether it's pain and you get it, or whether it's positivity where you just you get the helping hand, or you instantly understand what's going on. That in that sense, it really paired well with the lyrics of the song. And I think it came together quite well.
The director wanted to do this helicopter shot. Well, I think we probably wanted to do it too. But, it looks like this chopper pilot from Vietnam, is just like buzzing us all, coming up in front of us, from behind us, trying to get all these shots circling around us. And, at some point in time, certain points in time, he was probably around 30 feet from us, and when they come in that close, you're just eating dirt, and you're eating everything that's coming up out of this field is just hitting you in the face. And the four of us are supposed to be looking straight ahead and playing, but I'm thinking to myself, if at any point in time this guy loses control of this helicopter, I want to jump out of the way, because if this thing comes down at us,
I was just thinking, just get the shot. If the helicopter crashes into you, just make sure the shot looks good. Well, we were also in the hills north LA, and it was so dry up there that they had a fire captain on site with a water truck, and he said basically if one of these lenses flashes the sunlight on the grass and it goes up, we're all screwed, and we won't be able to put it out, and the whole hill's going to burn. And so there's that guy. Then there's a paramedic who's there. His entire specialty is treating people for rattlesnake bites, which there were rattlesnakes everywhere out there. So it was a pretty fun day.
They didn't tell me that.
It's okay.
Can you remember writing the single?
Didn't you write that walking from your house to the studio?
I
remember you just walked in and grabbed a guitar and just...
Not quite that fast, but we were having a meeting with the managers, and we were discussing what we were going to do with Facebook and Twitter and everything, and everybody contributing to that element. I was like, all right, I'll let you guys discuss this, and I'm going to go to the studio, and I'll let you guys handle this stuff. And so I got to the studio, and I grabbed a guitar, and by the time these guys had finished the meeting and got to the studio, the chorus of When We Stand Together was like sitting there ready to listen to.
I'd say that's fast.
That was pretty quick. And then that was full steam ahead. And we wound up with sort of this cynical sort of twist on, look how easy it is for you to just, watch CNN and see atrocities going on around the world, and then just, switch to a cooking show and we just don't give it another thought, like almost like we're getting numb to these things that are going on around the world. And then into the chorus where, you know, this is how great things could be for mankind if we actually just got together and put our differences aside.
The song Lullaby is obviously really special to you as well.
Lullaby was, all the writing was done. That was one that we just had to actually record. I actually played that song for my aunt right around Christmas time. And by the time, you know, the outro was just finishing up, I looked over and, you know, she was completely, you know, she had lost it, and there was tears flowing, and I'm like, oh, this could be good. this could be special. Yeah. And that's a good litmus test, you know. If you can get someone emotionally involved that fast, you know, in one listen, that's a good sign.
This Means War, what a great way to open an album. Tell us what went into making this song. For a song like This Means War, once we had kind of like this riff idea that was sitting there, it just had this aggressive nature, you know, so we were going to talk about rainbows and butterflies and whatnot, and it just seemed like, you know, it was something that the record was missing, something of that aggressive nature, you know, just angry and pissed off, and you know, it doesn't necessarily have to do with a conflict between two countries or even just two people. It's whatever it is that you're trying to overcome, that you're, you know, wanting to battle. And then, you know, the verses become a metaphor for that. You know, climb into the ring for a battle that you can't win. Swing as hard as you could swing, it'll still mean nothing. And you're talking to your opponent or whatever it is that you're trying to overcome. And then we got to the chorus, and it was just, you know, scream fest. We actually kept the demo vocal take when I first did it, just to see what it would sound like, and I'm just screaming, you know, full-blown screaming, which I don't think I'd ever really done before. Everything comes from a little bit more of a singing approach, more melodic, and this was just balls out. Like, I'm going to scream, and I'm going to try and gut this microphone and, you know, get some natural distortion to accompany what's coming out of my voice, and we went at it another couple times for the finishing takes, and it was like, no, that first thing you did that was just this guttural nature is like, it can't be beat. It was just raw, and, you know, we're just going to keep those. And like, if you were to just, you know, if this was the behind the music and you turned the vocal take up on the board, it's just this horrendous sound of me screaming, you know, this means war. And the first song you released from the forthcoming album at the time was Bottoms Up, an old school rock and roll song, isn't it?
Bottoms Up. When I first heard it, I could hear Chad's AC/DC influence for sure, because there's a lot of midnight sessions at the studio where there's lots of drinks. Chad would get on the drums, Joey's on the guitar, Scott would get on bass. It was Back in Black over and over and over again.
Yes.
When Chad wrote that, I went, all right, it's Nickelback meets AC/DC. It's like the ultimate tribute song. It
would definitely be our version of Have a Drink on Me, if you will, you know. And, you know, it gives you this vibe of, you know, when you hear it, you want to go call up your three best friends and head to a bar and, you know, start doing shots and
wreck the place
and not leave until, you know, till the sun comes up. It's that kind of vibe. It's our drinking anthem.
And I'm sure it'll be a lot of other people's as well. Finally, I want to talk about Trying Not to Love You. Everybody's been there at some point in their lives.
We had the chorus for that done. That was one of the other pieces that we actually brought in, that everybody loved. Everybody liked that chorus. We just went through 3 or 4 different verses. We were trying to find something that fit. That took a while. Like, we kept trying. We'd take a stab at it, and it's not working. We'd put it away for 3 weeks and move on other things, and then come back to it. And I remembered I had this little ditty that I didn't have a chorus for, and then once we married the two, it was like, this is what we've been trying to get to.
Well, thanks a lot for this. I want to encourage all the listeners to go out and buy this here and now, out right now. Great Christmas present. You can get it In fact, from the Six Towns website as well. So buy here and now. Can I just ask you guys to introduce our final song? This is Try Not to Love You.
Hey, we are Nickelback, and check out our video, Try Not to Love You, from our new album, Here and Now.